Thank you for being a part of our first graduating class. I think the next step in this journey is to hear your elevator speeches, and then to get your graduation certificates. And then we have a really fun afternoon plan, so that will be good. So, so we're gonna call folks up, right?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, still senior. Woo!
Yay.
Thank you. I just found out that I was number one to speak. So here I am. I am new to the senior stuff, and this is my first group. I was pretty hesitant when I first started, but I'm feeling great now. I feel like I've learned so much from everybody. I'm so used to raising my seniors in my family that now I'm out here ahead of everybody and ready to be raised myself. However, the problem is, I think we're forgetting a lot about our seniors. My grandparents, they passed away when they were 193. One was 93 and one was 100. And I had joy in raising them and bringing them along and going to all the doctor's appointments. And I had a full-time job on top of that, but I had a great boss. So now that I'm here, I'm looking for all my children. Where are they? They're out doing their own thing. And I hear things like, Grandma, do you really need me today? Because I got to go potty. Grandma, could you please drive me to school? No. All these things are happening. So I'm wondering about the other seniors. There are other seniors who are out here that are older than I am. What's happening to them? So I'm going to do something about it. Okay? Right now, I'm the taxi for the seniors on my street and in my community. I also go grocery shopping for them. And I also visit them at the hospitals when they're in and when they're out. I do all I can for them because I feel that I owe it to them. Now I'm feeling special that I'm telling you my story, and I pray that everybody will take a look around them and help somebody else. That's what I'm trying to do. That's my speech.
Don't go away. That was great.
Thank you.
All right, this is your certificate, Dustin.
Nice, thank you.
You're welcome. Happy graduation.
Thank you.
Jan.
Good morning. My purpose is to restore net neutrality to the internet. It sounds wonky, but it affects us all. So in this advocacy, I'm speaking to an assistant in Mike Capuano's office about the vote. So hi, John. This is Jan Bevan. I'm on the phone. I'm calling about the urgent need to restore net neutrality before the FCC blocks it on June 11th. I'm so glad that the Senate has voted to keep net neutrality. Now it's up to Congress in the House. Net neutrality assures that we all get equal access to the internet. Without it, we users will have internet slow lanes, blocked websites, higher prices. 83% of Americans support open access, and I'm asking Mike Capuano to vote in the House to keep our access without a higher price. Time's running out. The FCC rules go into effect in 3 weeks, but the House can save the internet by refusing to let the big companies like AT&T, Comcast, and Verizon control how we access content and at what price. President Obama once said there should be no toll roads on the information superhighway. I agree. Do you and the congressman agree as well? Thank you for making sure that we don't lose open internet.
All right, here you go. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful.
Marshall.
Good afternoon, Rep. Malia.
I want to talk to you about a best practice of allowing individuals to have flexibility to age in their current residences and remain part of the community. I have a triple-decker, and I've moved my adult children back so that they can assist me as we age. The issue is being able to do the structural repairs that I know that we'll need as we age in place. I know that we're slightly above the guidelines that the city has been able to offer us, and I think you need to look at that fact, because I think there's many more seniors out here who are just above. You know, we've worked some pretty good jobs. Some of us had some good pensions. We're still not the assisted living rich kind of age or money. And so I'd like you to consider re-examining the guidelines so that we can be part of our community. I hope that you'll explore this, not just for me, but Rep. Molly, you and I have been together kind of a long time, and I know you live in a big house too, so that it'll be for the community. And you know that seniors are the stability in the community as we gentrify, as buildings become different shapes and sizes. We really need to have our seniors age in place. So please consider examining that guideline issue, and thank you for your time. Thank you, dear. Oh, my granddaughter will be proud.
Yep, you're up.
Good morning. Good morning, esteemed guests. My name is Carol Leary, and my issue has to do with bullying of elders in their communities, particularly in public housing communities and other subsidized designations, like in privately owned properties, but subsidized units. There is a bill now in the Massachusetts legislature that was filed by Rep. Alan Sylvia of New Bedford and signed on by Rep. Liz Malia, and it needs our support. Actually, we're working on it across Massachusetts. A member of the public housing staff where I live on Pond Street in Jamaica Plain decided that one of my neighbors should not have been placed where I live. She's mentally challenged. She lived on the street for 11 years. She had a little difficulty adjusting to 4 walls and a roof. And she's a delightful woman who actually was a very well-respected healthcare provider for an entire career for 38 years. And she had a psychotic break, and she worked well with her healthcare providers and her medication. And this person on the BHA staff decided that she just was a bad assignment from day one, and would harass her and bully her, and she did decompensate. She did require hospitalization. And so we had to intervene, and the situation was resolved, but it's on a daily basis. And I believe this happens a lot, and I believe it cannot be tolerated. And I encourage us all to please look up stopbullyingcoalition.org and support the effort in the Massachusetts legislature, which I believe I pronounced pretty well. Legislature. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Gwen?
Good morning. I am Gwen, excuse me, and I'm sure each and every one of you here know by now. I am very concerned about senior isolation. Reason being is because I know someone personally that is in this situation. I made myself aware of this person when I met her in the washroom. And And the reason I know is because she had the first conversation with my daughter, and my daughter told me about it. So she didn't know what to do, so she, you know, she kindly asked me, Mama, will you talk to her or do what you can? I said, all right, well, maybe one day, you know, I'll see her out. And I did. I saw her in the washroom. So I did. I struck up a conversation with her. And, you know, she's at the point where she has no friends. She has no family here. She goes to the grocery store, don't know what to get. I invited her to go to church with me. But she do have a domestic job on the weekends. So I asked her, you know, was she happy to be there? No, because she's in the home alone doing what she needs to do. So my thing was to get her some type of help or in some type of program. So I asked her if she mind if I would, you know, kind of work with her a little bit. So she was open. So the first thing, I spoke to the coordinator in the building where she lived, because there are programs that are going on in that particular building. So I asked her if it was okay if she would meet with the coordinator and myself together. Oh, whoa. Is that 2 minutes? All right. I did get her in a program, and our next step is going to the elderly at City Hall. My goodness, that was quick. But anyway, any of you that know seniors that are isolated, take the time and the energy to kind of bring them in. Thank you.
All right, Glenn.
Woo, woo. Thank you. Woo!
Good morning. That's my friend Gwen. I knew she would not stop till the bell rang. Good morning again. My name is Shirley Smith, and I live in the Roxbury neighborhood, which I'm very proud of. My speech is for Mayor Walsh. I'm getting off the elevator, and I see the mayor. Good morning, Mayor Walsh. My name is Shirley Smith, and I live in the Roxbury neighborhood. My concern is affordable housing for seniors in our neighborhood. There are a lot of buildings, new buildings going on, and I don't think they are for seniors that we can afford to live. I would like to invite you to come to our neighborhood and to see what is going on in our neighborhood. I own a condo in Roxbury. Someday I plan to sell, but I want to stay in my neighborhood. And so right now, I don't think I could afford to say if I sell my condo. I think a senior on a fixed income paying $1,000 is not affordable for seniors. So I would like for you to come to our neighborhood to see what is going on in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yay! I made it.
What I decided to do was to do a real issue, and having a daughter with a disability, my name is Tom Taranto, was to advocate for some legislation that is happening right now in the Senate and in the House. As a Dorchester family raising Christina, our daughter with a disability, we strongly support Senate Bill 1222. We were early family volunteers to host Boston University medical students into our homes to become part of our family life for an evening. We would invite them for an afternoon and dinner. What was a normal day for us became for them a window into our lives. Our daughter arrived home from her school program by wheelchair and entered on a wheelchair ramp which we had installed in our home. We assisted her with her toileting, and we were also fortunate to have a personal care attendance through the Mass Health program, and were able to hire Julian, a local neighbor, to come over and help assist Christina while we prepared dinner. And then Julian would help her with her meal, give her an evening bath, and help put her to bed. We participated with this program for about 5 years and always received letters of appreciation from the students expressing how powerful the experience had been for them in understanding the daily struggles of a family raising a child with a disability. They told us it would make a big difference in their medical practice. Senate Bill 1222 is legislation addressing the dire needs for training of our academic medical community. It will support people with autism and intellectual developmental disabilities, providing important education to a proven model. It creates a certificate program and allows for oversight from the Department of Mental Health. We know that people with disabilities lack prevention, diagnosis, and effective treatment. The prevalence of autism and intellectual disabilities continues to rise with increased numbers of children developing autism and more babies surviving with developmental disabilities. Please pass this legislation. Thank you for your efforts to improve care for people with autism and intellectual disabilities. Okay, thank you. Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, you know, we didn't thank Emily for the great work that she's done in providing this for us. I think we're really happy to do. We're really happy to do.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, and I.
Also, Allison, I think it's a team effort here, too.
The yeoman's
Yeah.
work as well.
Everybody,
as,
yeah. I'm
Caitlin
sorry, but you were
and Cindy.
here, and I forgot that everybody's been involved.
It's been a great team
Yeah.
effort. Thank you very
And I'm
much.
going to introduce my wife, Diane McCormick, who's going to follow me.
Good morning, Senator Warren. My name is Diane McCormick, and I live in Dorchester. Thank you for taking time to listen to my thoughts about youth, universal public service. As a mother, grandmother, former teacher, and school psychologist, I note that there are many young people that need to be engaged in our democracy. And I think this would give them an opportunity to give back to their community, to our Commonwealth, and to our country. I envision that such an experience as universal public service would provide them with a chance to develop skills that are overlooked in traditional secondary and college education. What could be missed in our secondary and college education? How about cross-cultural diversity, social and economic diversity, and empathy? Many of us exist in silos without meaningful interactions with people from other racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic backgrounds. A year or two of volunteer service in a federally approved program such as the United States military, the United States Peace Corps, or AmeriCorps would provide young Americans with an opportunity to learn about different Americans. This period of service could help engage young people in our democracy and encourage volunteerism throughout their lives. What's in it for the young people who have so many choices? I propose that those who complete the year or two of service be eligible for health and educational benefits, such as what is offered to our military veterans. On a personal level, I want to share that I served as a Peace Corps volunteer after college in Honduras, Central America. And when I returned, I brought with me to my public school service an understanding of the language and culture, which was very helpful as we welcomed the newer immigrants into our public schools. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to this proposal. May I leave you some additional information, and I hope you will sponsor a bill in the future. Thank you. Right person. Thank you, Emily.
And I am speaking to Rep. Ed Coppinger, whom I just happened to run into in the State House. Mr. Coppinger, my name is Paula Barta, and I'm a resident of West Roxbury. Without my blue T-shirt, you can't tell that I'm a member of the Massachusetts Senior Action Council. But I wanted to let you know that we remain committed to legislation to lower the cost of health care for seniors in Massachusetts. You may not realize that 1 of 3 seniors with less than $28,000 a year in annual income must choose between food and medication. By eliminating the asset test and raising income eligibility for the Medicare Savings Program, you would leverage federal funds and benefits that would help 70,000 Massachusetts seniors. These federal funds are currently unused because seniors in need don't qualify. Timing is critical. Last year, the legislation passed the Senate, but didn't make its way to the governor's desk for signature because the session ended. This session, will you help us make these bills a priority so they can become new law this year? Thank you for your efforts.
You did a great job.
It's a pleasure to be here. See you today, Allison, Emily. My name is Will Roberts. I'm a Boston native. I've lived in West Roxbury neighborhood in Boston for the past 15 years. Unlike a lot of my neighbors, I'm not opposed to inevitable growth and change. So I'm frustrated by the many people who see primarily interest in maintaining the status quo, that's preserving the present rather than shaping the future. 2 years ago, the City of Boston, West Roxbury Main Streets, Metropolitan Area Planning Council held a series of workshops focusing on producing a report called Imagine West Roxbury, an important planning effort. It had wide buy-in throughout the community. Now, 2 years later, some recommendations have been implemented, some are in process, but my overall sense is that the interest has waned. There were a lot of civic organizations in West Roxbury, the business folks with the West Roxbury Main Streets, the West Roxbury Civic Association. But my sense is that frequently, when they show up, it's in opposition to some proposal and project, not in favor of promoting the changes that would create a positive future for the neighborhood. I'd like to enlist some of the core members of the 2016 project, Imagine West Roxbury, along with new participants to generate a way to shape future growth through positive support of both public and private initiatives. My objective is to form a Let's Make It Happen coalition of existing neighborhood organizations and a half a dozen other groups, maybe new groups, maybe existing groups, civic, school, whatever. The purpose would be to take a proactive stance on what we want to see happen rather than a reactive stance on things we don't want to see happen. Could I have your commitment to the endeavor, and can I count on you, your agency, and others in Boston City government to support this approach to neighborhood engagement and growth? Thank you.
These are all impressive. There you go.
Cool.
Congratulations, sir.
Okay. Thank you very, very much.
Mary?
Good morning. My topic is about working seniors. A lot of people are working, and it's about this person who went to giving their vacations out, and the company changed the policy at the last minute, and instead of getting 2 weeks they were supposed to get, they got 1 week with pay, 1 without. So this was their complaint. And this is something good because a lot of seniors are working, and they have to work. So when vacation comes, they want to have the 2 weeks they're supposed to get. So this is a last-minute thing that companies do all the time to regular employees and working seniors. But I'm for the working seniors. And the head supervisor, Ms. Special, she's the one that's had the meeting and said, the company has said we can't afford to give you 2 2 weeks with pay. Everybody, seniors and regular employees. It affected the seniors because they need it. The regular employees need it too. However, this continued to go on, and it ended up with it still in place. This is what happens at a lot of jobs. Seniors really get cheated. Everyone gets cheated, but the seniors who are by themselves, who need to work, they deserve the 2 weeks pay. But it ended up, but they didn't get it anyway. The person in charge, Miss Special, you know who they are everywhere, said this is going to be the policy. Management says we have to do it, and you're only going to get 1 week with pay and 1 without. And that's my complaint, to help working seniors, wherever they're working, to speak up and talk to you, to give them what they deserve. That's all.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bernadette Marullo and would like to address Councilor Edwards. I am here to voice my support of the hearing you have called regarding the real estate tax, back real estate taxes, and the City of Boston using every means to ensure taxpayers, many of them seniors, can stay in their homes. The present plan, as you know, for paying back taxes has a substantial down payment and must be paid within a year, leaving homeowners at risk for foreclosure. Councilor Edwards, your plan to expand the length of time for tax repayment and forgiving a portion of the interest will reduce a terrible burden on taxpayers in financial difficulty. I have, on a personal note, found myself in an economic situation which I hope is temporary. If I were to lose my part-time job, I would be hard-pressed to pay my taxes. I am current on my real estate taxes, but a medical problem or loss of job would cause a financial hardship. I would like to age in place and remain independent for as long as possible. If this plan were to pass, it would relieve the worry of an economic crisis for me that may never happen. I support this plan and am willing to advocate for it.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My speech will be tailored to appropriate policymakers, either on the federal, state, or city level. My name is Nina Hayes, and I'm a proud fourth-generation Bostonian that is eager to participate in the Age-Friendly Boston Initiative. The Age-Friendly Boston Action Plan is the city's blueprint organized by 8 domains that focus on city life. With the help of community partnerships and neighborhood engagement, the plan hopes to address the concerns of all residents. My attention today is on the MBTA proposal for the City Point section of South Boston. I recognize the MBTA is an independent authority, but I hope the city can make the T's so-called improvements more age-friendly. For 40 years, I have lived at L Street and Broadway. In the past 10 years, a Starbucks, Tasty Burger, Dunkin' Donuts, and Boston Bagel have sprung up at this very busy intersection. The pedestrian walk signal is too short to allow seniors or mothers with children to cross the street. The green light for L Street favors commuters from the South Shore to speed into and out of the city during rush hour. Drivers ignore the yellow caution light and continue through the intersection with increased velocity. I need help from city transportation specialists to educate motorists and walkers to the benefit of the leading pedestrian interval, or LPI, giving everyone more than 9 seconds to cross the street. My suggestion would be more than a flashing signal that says, "Run for your life." The MBTA proposes a dedicated bus lane down the middle of East Broadway from L Street to M Street. Currently, the double parking at Broadway and L Street easily tops 50 cars a day. At a transportation meeting this past Wednesday night, I met with my senator, city councilors, and MBTA officials, of course. But I'm working with elected officials to convince the MBTA to slow down, do a traffic study, and continue a dialogue with residents.
I'm doing something a little different with this. I'm working on creating an organization. So this is at a certain stage in the creation of the organization. And I've met someone in the elevator who is a potential board member. And so I'm taking advantage of that moment to say that I'd like to let you know we're involved in putting together a method for the dispersed LGBT seniors of Massachusetts. We think what we are doing will facilitate community and has the potential of support for one another. We're thinking of virtual communication as the possible vehicle. Our aging LGBT community is reaching a new stage. Many of us have grown to an age where we need more help. At the same time, we have found that help requires funding and established social institutions. A start with this next step is our working relationship with 3 groups: Partners Healthcare Technology Group for methodology and a meeting space, Mass Council on Aging for web page space, and we have our first funding from the Equality Fund of the Boston Foundation for our beginning work of assembling 6 focus groups throughout the state. We see the focus groups as having a dual purpose of providing feedback about the idea and early organizing of interested parties. It's time for us now to make another growth move. For the past year, we have been 3 comrades looking at aging in our community, having conversations with many other community activists, and thinking about what next. The next step will require more focused help for us to develop a viable startup. I'd like to invite you to join us in that. Thank you so much.
Brenda?
Hi, my name is Brenda, and I am a resident of Roxbury. My elevator speech is really directed towards anybody I can capture anywhere. So it really didn't have a specific person or purpose in mind other than to advocate for issues important to us as older adults. So with that said, I'd like to thank you for your support and the work that you've done on behalf of your constituents. I personally am very passionate about healthy communities and healthy living. And with that in mind, I'm very much focused on aging and the health of our communities as we age. As you may know, well over 10,000 people turn 65 or older on a weekly basis, or is it a daily basis? Daily basis, excuse me. Those numbers are so astronomical in themselves, it's kind of hard to embrace, but I'm sure you would share the same concerns I do about how we, as new populations, grow older and as existing populations move forward, how we're working together to make sure that we as a country, as a neighborhood, as a community, stay strong. One of the things you'll find is as people grow older that they no longer have the earning potentials that they had before, and they're shifting to be able to have to survive on fixed incomes that don't necessarily have the support systems in place to carry forward things like health care and food. And you hear stories all the time about people having to make choices between their medicine and eating. That shouldn't be. You hear people, I've interviewed people and talked to people about housing and how important housing is, and believe it or not, seniors face eviction like everybody else. and seniors don't have the ability to raise their potential income to be able to meet whatever those demands are that are putting them in that situation. When it comes to isolation, seniors face isolation at an astronomical level, and people just don't realize it. You look around the streets, you don't see the seniors. Well, where are they? And why are they not out there? So there are many issues that I'm sure that you're familiar with or may now become familiar with that we may have an opportunity to talk about even more. But I'm going to ask you to always, always, when an issue comes up, vote in favor of seniors and aging, because one day that's where you're going to be and you'll see the importance of it. You'll see your efforts and you'll benefit from them.
I am a resident of South Dorchester, the District 4 area of Boston. My wife and I have been living there for over 30 years. I'm concerned with the control and prevention of crime in my neighborhood. And I'm speaking to Councilor Andrea Campbell. Along with strong police presence, with predictive policing practices, neighborhood watch, improvement of lighting on the streets, and surveillance cameras on the stoplights, I feel that more surveillance cameras are needed, with accompanying warning signs stating this area / property is under 24-hour video surveillance. This issue is important because a September 2011 article from Urban Institute's Justice Policy Center, after evaluating the use of public surveillance cameras for crime control and prevention, concluded that, quote, police, policy makers, and others involved in criminal justice largely view the cameras as a useful tool for preventing crimes, aiding in arrests, and supporting investigations and prosecutions, unquote. When our son was 12, it's about 15 years ago, he got a go-kart for his birthday, and while allowing his friends to drive it up and down our street, he was assaulted by a gang of 3 teenagers, 2 of whom pinned him up against the fence, and 1 who stole his go-kart. Although we got it back about 4 months later, with the help of a policeman, this incident was fairly traumatic for him and could have been tragic. I feel, though, that cameras could have been a deterrent in this case. So, in the South Dorchester area, I'd like to see a camera on every corner, mid-portion of every street, and in every park.
Thank you.
Councilman Matt O'Malley, I live in your district, District 6. I'm asking for your help. I don't need you to solve world peace. I don't need you to make me younger. What I'm asking for is mitigation of a problem on my street, Pond Street, which is traffic, volume, and speed, coming from Brookline down Pond Street to the Jamaica Way. When I moved there in 1996, Pond Street was a regular roadway with a normal volume of cars. Now it's become a collector roadway which feeds into the arterials of streets going into Boston. We've been penetrated by commercial vehicles, commercial buses, even auto transport, tractor trailer trucks that go down the street. The speed limit is 25. It's a single-lane street. It's curvilinear. It's narrow. It's also on a hill, which promotes speeding going down the hill. The people who live on Pond Street are various. There is a elementary private school, there is a residential convent, there is a rehab nursing home, there is a private elementary school, there is another elementary, well, school, K through 12, there is a private university one-year program for Korean girls, and there are 63 residential homes that live on that street in this area that are your constituents. What I'm asking for is, again, mitigation, whether they be traffic tables or bump out curbs or even raised crosswalks. I have taken to parking my car when I work out in my front yard by my driveway to make cars force them into the other side of the road so they don't hit me. So again, traffic, and I'm asking for mitigation. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is most likely, I believe, directed at someone at a state level, perhaps the Department of Public Health. My name is Ed Ford, and I'm a lifelong resident of Boston. In December 2017, the Massachusetts Medical Society withdrew its opposition to the proposal for medical aid in dying. But there are still physicians in Massachusetts who are concerned that insurance companies may refuse to pay it for treatment, but instead pay for suicide medication. The Department of Public Health is reviewing the upcoming legislation. As it is written, the legislation would allow terminally ill patients with 6 months or less to live to apply to their doctor for medications which they could take to end their lives. Medical aid in dying is a safe and a trusted medical practice in which a terminally ill, mentally capable adult with a prognosis of 6 months or less to live may request from his or her doctor a prescription for medication which they can choose to self-ingest to bring about a peaceful death. 7 states currently authorize medical aid in dying: Oregon, Washington, California, Montana, Vermont, Colorado, Hawaii, as well as the District of Columbia. For some people, simply having a prescription brings comfort, whether or not they actually use it. In Oregon, for instance, in 2017, 218 people received prescriptions, and as of January 2018, only 129 people had died. The characteristics of these patients were similar to those in previous years. 80% were age 65 or older, and 76% had cancer. Since the law in Oregon passed in 1997, over 20 years ago, a total of 1,967 people have had prescription medications, and 1,275 patients have used it. Over the past 10 years, I have personally supported many friends and family through difficult illnesses. Some have spent down their last penny on savings. But in the end, it's really about the quality of their life, not how much time they have left. Death is inevitable. Once the DPH reviews, clarifies, and resolves the current question, I would like you to sign on to this legislation to give citizens the choices they deserve. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Whew, it's official.
Good morning, everybody. I first want to thank the staff of the Senior Civic Academy for the effort they put into this program. I found this 4 weeks program very enlightening. And for myself, my experience working in a senior assisted living facility, I used to drive the van and take the people shopping and take them out to the markets or buy clothes and do different things, even just to the Arboretum and places like that. And how happy it made them and how thankful they were that somebody was taking the time. So I know how important these programs are, not just the seniors, but the people in general. So, and there's a variety of issues that seniors have, and groups like this one can really make a difference, all right? I will be advocating for change. My main thing right now that I've seen is the Medicare bill, all right? And it's hard to understand how somebody could be below the poverty level when poverty is as destitute as you can get. So I'll be working with groups and agencies advocating to make the necessary programs available to those who really need it. And I want to thank the staff and the class again for the opportunity for this experience. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to share with you an exchange that I'd like to have if I happen to be on an elevator with a department head or someone in the real estate taxation office of the city. So here it goes. Hi, my name's Sherry. I'm a lifelong South End resident from the generation known as the baby boomers. Like many of my Boston contemporaries, I want to age out in my family home of 7 decades. Aging in our homes is the best of all worlds, but Boston's real estate tax structure is presenting an impediment. Too many of us are just above the income levels that would make us eligible for tax abatement or elder tax exemption status. So I'd like to work with you on an elder age-friendly real estate tax plan that ensures continued senior home ownership in this city through fair and equitable taxation versus the developer-driven market that we're in. I'm really dedicated to Boston remaining a city of diversity, inclusion, relevance, and value for all of its residents. Thanks so much for hearing me out on this elevator trip we're taking together. I'm excited to leave my contact information with your office, and I look forward to sitting down with you to work on a plan.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jim O'Donnell, and my encounter was with the mayor at a coffee hour and hopefully director of transportation. So, Mayor, my concern is that the pedestrian safety on Tremont Street in the South End. I live about a block from it, and I see this happening all the time. People are afraid to cross the street. They have to wait for cars to get by. And there have been, in the last 3 years, 4 people in the South End pedestrians who were killed by cars, 2 of them on Tremont Street. And you know about that, and you know about the Vision Zero that you set up, which is designed to reduce pedestrian deaths to 0. And they're working very hard on a safety plan for Tremont Street. But the design phase is on now, and the plan is a year from now, they would be implementing some really good changes that I think will help make it safe. Right now, there are some things that could be done. I go up to the corner and I see my neighbors, older and younger, waiting, just waiting for cars, even stepping dangerously into the crosswalk, and still they keep going. So they're focused on the light, and there are 24 intersections on Tremont Street between Harold Street and Monday or Cass Boulevard. 9 of those have lights, 9. So at least 15 completely exposed, going through this game of chicken constantly. So what I would like to recommend is 3 steps that are inexpensive, could be done now. One is repaint, even though it was done a year ago, but repaint all of a crosswalk from beginning to end, from hell to Money Cash. 2, put back those little signboards in the middle of a median. Most of them have been hit, destroyed, so let's replace those. Finally, I think the police, if they could do spot enforcement of both the 25-mile-an-hour rule, law, and 2, about crosswalk, people walking the crosswalk. And if they issued a few $100 tickets, I think the word would get around and we'd be safer. Thank you.
Oh, last but not least.
Yeah, she came up there, don't you?
Greetings.
Get the last word, Joyce.
Greetings. Greetings. I'm Joyce Durst. Joyce Durst from Mattapan. Yes, I am honored to have been a participant in this Senior Civic Academy pilot. I hope that it will continue. And the pace has been a little challenging, for me particularly, seeing that I'm a retired, busy senior. But it's all good busy. And I've learned a lot. I have a wealth of information that I am reviewing and will continue to review and try to process. I have made many friends, and that was one of my intentions wherever I go, and I hope I become a friend to some. I want to thank the team, the age-friendly group, for what you're doing. You're right on point. And I know, being a working person, that it does take team effort. You're doing a good job. The concept of age-friendly is very good. You're right on point with that. You've made me feel as though Boston is learning and listening at us seniors who are residents here. And those listening sessions are working. As my colleagues have indicated all the different issues that we have, I share them too, from housing to health care to safety to transportation. As you know, one of my little pet peeves was that I think that Boston should afford free transportation to Boston residents who are 60 and over. So that should, 65 or over. So when you turn 65, that should be one of the good perks that we have in Boston. I know of other cities who do that, and I hope that we can do that. I just can't begin to say how I think this is such a good thing. And I truly do hope the team will allow this to happen to some of the other seniors. As we've indicated, everybody who are retired and seniors right now don't share a lot of things that we do. I listen keenly because I'm saying with me, I'm very involved, I'm very busy, I'm enjoying it. And I hope that we can be an inspiration to others in our neighborhood, in our communities, and even because of this, that we can reach out to other seniors so they can have this similar experience. I thank you. Joyce Durst.
Well, that was great. Give yourselves another big round of applause. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. We have a couple of guests that were here watching as well today, so maybe we'll have folks, I know people probably know you because they heard you the first day, but want to introduce yourself, Mike?
Sure, Mike Festa, ARP State Director. Pleasure to have you and all of you.
Yes, and
oh yes.
Kelly Leffler, Senior Program Specialist with AARP. Thank you, everyone.
You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Hannah, Digital Media AARP. Great.
And then Mary Kay back there.
Good morning. I'm Mary Kay Brown with the Massachusetts Association of Councils on Aging. The commission is one of our main members. I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
Yeah, there are 351 towns and cities in Massachusetts, and there's 350 councils on aging. So we got one community that, Monroe, very tiny, hasn't stepped up to the plate. But someday. And Jamada.
Oh, hi. I'm Jamada, and I'm part of the Age-Friendly Advisory Committee. And I really enjoyed this. I wanted so much to attend, but my husband is sick, and I couldn't do 9 to 5. So I hope that you all appreciate the fact that you were able to do it and willing to do it, and that you did it. So congratulations.
So what did you want to?
So just a couple of things. I have, for those who were here with us to hear the mayor speak with the group, the photo we all took together, he signed one for each of us, which is wonderful. So I'm going to come around and hand them out. But I also wanted to just kind of take a minute to address the other homework that we had. So thank you all for taking that seriously and for putting in the time. Those speeches were excellent and wonderful to hear. The other piece I asked you to kind of focus on over the course of the week was just to reflect on the last 4 weeks, kind of think about what you came into this, what idea you had coming into this, what you're walking away with, and I would just ask that a few folks share. We've got some time to just kind of share your feedback, share your reflections.
Oh, she's all into sharing. Can you tell she's a social worker?
I'm going to hand these out. Emily, if you will pay attention to hands.
Yes,
Don't be shy.
yes. All right, who wants to share?
I didn't know what to expect. I can tell you that it exceeded any possible expectations that I could have even come up with. I think this is an excellent program. I think all of you did an incredible job of pulling this together and linking with the right people. So I thank the city, I thank the state, I thank the federal government for putting forth those people and allowing us to have access to them. I thank AARP for having us here and hosting us and feeding us too. So I just think that, Emily, your organization did an incredible job. I thank you. There's UMass Boston, I can't forget about.
They're right back there.
Thank you. Yeah.
And right here.
Boston. Yes, thank you. Because it's really been a really extraordinary experience, and I was very interested during all of it. But I'm like, nope, can't miss it, gotta get there, gotta do this, gotta do that. I never felt like I was wasting one moment of my time.
Wonderful. Good. That's good to hear. Thank you. Yes.
I think, thank you for making us feel important, and the exposure to the representatives and government people. I think it was good for them to see us, and again, it's making us be important in their eyes.
Yep, I agree. Yeah.
One of the things I want to encourage you to do is to keep that link sending, because then we can build a library of resources that we can then share out to the wider community. So that's very important. And it gives us a chance to sit and really look at what information you're sending us, because everything was a little quick.
Yes. But that's a good idea, Marshall.
I had no expectation, but you know, when I make a commitment, I stay committed, so I really enjoyed the time.
Great, and I should just add to that. So I think suggestions like Marshall's, we're happy to take any suggestions or anything too, and you can let us know this when Cindy's going to send out or going to have you do a survey. You can also let us know by email. As everybody knows, this was a pilot class, right? So we already have a bunch of things we're thinking about that we want to improve for the next time or do just a little bit differently. If you all have thoughts on that, we'd really like to hear them, because as you know, our hope is that this can be replicated both in Boston but also across the state to make a great group of advocates who want to work together. So we're happy to hear all suggestions. I saw a hand. Alice, did you have?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to how we feel in terms of importance. Michelle Moo called me the other night.
Transportation.
People noticed.
She called you on the phone? Wow. Yeah, that's good.
And I just wanted to say that I have never been politically involved. And it is only now that I have time, having retired, but this class has made me believe that my participation might be of value.
Yeah.
And gave me tools that I did not have before taking it. So I'd encourage anyone else who has the opportunity to do the same.
I thank you, Paula, and that's a nice point, because I think it was maybe Mike who said to us the first day that it only takes a few calls to an elected official's office on a topic to actually make them pay attention. We think everybody calls, but everybody doesn't call. So there's a lot of power in speaking up. Yes, Pam.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to sort of almost echo what you just said, and that's that when people write, but especially get on the telephone or approach people at their events, I mean, they're supposed to respond. It's the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
It's not like magic.
Right.
It's not amazing when you get a phone call back, although I applaud you, of course, Allison, because you're marvelous. But it's the way it's supposed to be. They're supposed to call you back. That's the whole idea.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. But it doesn't always happen. Yes.
I just wanted to echo what Dorothy was saying. I think seniors very often do feel invisible, and by finding our voice, they're going to at least hear us, even if they don't always see us. And I came with some experience with advocacy, but I feel the training really greatly deepened my skill level and interest in following through with more advocacy. And kudos to everybody. There were so many different issues that people spoke about this morning. There was really no repetition at all. So there's a lot of work for us to do out there.
That's true. Yes. Tom.
I want to thank everybody too. I thanked you Emily before, but I really want to thank the whole working staff. It seemed like at the end of each day I felt so full of stuff, and I said, well, what can they do next time? And then you were able to bring in more information every time, and you're always on target in terms of providing stuff that you didn't expect. But in thinking about a model replication, the two things I think were in our favor here is we're drawing from a large population, and we have a good public transportation to get here.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big issue when you get out to the smaller communities. How big our catchment area, you're going to have to go in the size of the training to make it all work. And so it's a big challenge, and we're here to help you.
Yeah, that's great. Those are two good points, and I'm glad to hear you're here to help us, because, you know, there's a lot to think through about how we do this for the next time. I also just want to take a minute and appreciate you thanking everybody, and I would like to thank everyone who's helped as well. So AARP was mentioned, but the space. The space, having Jess and Austin do that awesome training last time, and also for feeding us. It's very nice. I hear there's quite a lovely graduation luncheon coming our way. So that is one of the things that space and food is one of the things we always count on AARP for, and I really appreciate that partnership. And then I can't say enough about the UMass Boston folks. I mean, they, and I should say there's kind of an invisible partner in the room here too, because the UMass Boston work is sponsored by the Tufts Health Plan Foundation. They have been an incredible partner in Age Friendly, and all of their funding is dedicated towards age-friendly work across the state of Massachusetts. They also fund in 2 other areas, but their work in Massachusetts is all focused on
appreciation.
What?
You should send them letters of appreciation.
Oh, sure. Yes, I'm sure they would love that. But we are absolutely thrilled that they have been able to support UMass in working with us over the course of our age-friendly work. So they have worked with us from day one, starting the listening sessions through creating the action plan, and to working on some of our action items with us. So they're working on this. They're working on mapping engagement opportunities across the city. They're working on barriers to employment and identifying those barriers to employment. Lots of different things they're helping us with. So thank you so much to Caitlin, to Jan, who's Caitlin's boss, and to Cindy here, who's been working hard on this project. So really appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, and I have to say too that the original idea for this class actually came from Mass Councils on Aging. So you see Mary Kay back there, so it came out of some discussion about Mass Association of Older Americans who are not really functioning too much anymore, and what we could do to really raise the voices of people in the way that Mass Association of Older Americans and Elsie Frank and Frank Manning used to do way back when. And so it's kind of a revival of that. And happy to have MCOA and Mass Senior Action Council and so many others as partners in this initiative. Any other thoughts? We actually ended, we thought people would go way past the 2 minutes. So we planned a lot more time in, but I guess we didn't have, you all are like rule followers. I love it. Yes.
I put this in my evaluation as well, but I'll just mention it here. When we're at the federal building, when you go with the next group, I think you should take a few minutes and stop in at the senator's offices. They're likely not going to be there, but Tom and I went to Senator Markey's office and met his staff and, saw the pictures that he had in the office. And so we know our way if we want to get there to see him sometime. I personally have visited Senator Warren's office in the past, but it wouldn't be that much more, and they are the senators of everybody in the group, so just give them that little feeling of and if they knew ahead of time, they might even have coffee for us or something.
Yeah, well, that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else?
I'm just wondering if everything you just listed, that it was
Tufts Health Plan Foundation.
Right. Is there somewhere we can go and find out all that they're supporting you with?
Yes. So you can, go ahead, Mike.
If I can make the suggestion, and picking up on John's point, excuse me, the key force here is a woman named Nora Moreno Karji. Nora is.
We'll send it out. We'll send
She
it
is the head of the Tufts Health Plan Foundation. She's the CEO, and she's really been the prime mover on two things. One is to embrace the age-friendly movement around the state. And two, as any of you who have been involved in foundations or even speculate around this, imagine taking all the grants that have been around for years and years, throwing them all up on the board like a chess pieces, and rearranging them so all the money only supports age-friendly work around the state. That took a lot of courage. And right now, MK from Mass Council on Aging, our friends at the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, now obviously Emily knows this firsthand, and UMass, the gerontology, we all are sort of watching this unfold, and ultimately, with the resources of the foundation and the other partners, this is a very real movement in terms of getting individual communities to step up and engage. So suffice to say, if you want to shoot a note to Nora, she'd be delighted. In fact, that underscores the point. 1 or 2 letters to Nora, she'll never forget it. Especially the way you do it, which is a handwritten note, the way it should be. But they're writing the book. It's 705 Mount Auburn Street, actually, in Watertown.
I can tell her that I'm getting, in several weeks, I'm going to sign up for Tufts.
Oh.
You go, girl. Well, that's right. She does the commercial.
So that's a good point. We will send out Nora's information. We'll send out a link to the foundation. What they're funding for us at the city is UMass to work with us around our whole age-friendly plan. So you can see what that is because you have a copy of the plan. But they're funding some really other neat things in Boston and across the state, including the work of the Governor's Council on Older Adults and the work to make Massachusetts an age-friendly state. So they just committed funding to supporting that work. So we'll send a link to the foundation, and on there you can find all the information about what else they're supporting statewide. Yes, Jemima.
Is there any way I could be friends of the first class? I have a feeling they're gonna have reunions.
I have heard some reunion talk, yes.
We always meet at the State House.
Yes, Jemima, you can be an honorary first-class member. I guess if class participants agree. Yeah, all right. And Mary?
She's bound to bring up the really interesting issues because I worked with her with the age-friendly group.
Right. We were lucky to have both Jemima and Alice sit on our age-friendly action planning committee. And it was probably, it went on longer than this, but it was the same type of intensive time commitment. So I guess we like to do that to folks. Sorry guys. But that was fun. So they helped us craft the action plan. Caitlin.
I'm just making a reminder, I know some of you have already completed the evaluation that Cindy handed out this morning, but if you still have that, if you want to fill it out and make sure you give it to one of us before you leave today, that information is going to be really valuable to us as we think about moving forward, both with replicating it here in Boston, but also across the state. And the second thing is, I think Cindy was handing out little cards as a reminder. She's going to be, one of us will be calling you in about a month to hear about sort of all of the things you've been up to since the completion of today's session. So just a reminder that you'll be hearing from us in a couple of weeks.
Great, and I saw...
You do not have to put your name on the evaluation, and please be as honest and open as you can.
Yeah. Mary Kay.
Well, I have a comment and a question. I'd just like to compliment the kind words about Tufts Health Plan Foundation. They've also been funding the dementia-friendly movement in Massachusetts very generously. They're in their third year of a 5-year effort to encourage communities to become more dementia-friendly, which is a sub-component of age-friendly. And so they've really changed the state conversation around that. And then I have a question. I don't want to put the organizers on the spot, but have you already shared your suggestions or thoughts about ways you would have changed the program as yet? Are there any ideas you want to bounce off of this group of wise elders about how you might have changed it, slowed it down, changed up topics, what have you?
We've had, every week I think we have some conversation about, just debriefing about the day, and we certainly have lots of notes about what we can do differently. I think, in general, I think the piece about the time, the pace and the time, we jammed a lot in 5 days.
Yes.
And the academic in me also recognizes we didn't give a lot of time for sort of absorption of that information and practical experience with that information. So I think moving forward, we'd like to build some of that in some ways. But I think generally those are some of our thoughts.
Yeah. Yes, Paula.
If you would like our feedback, it would be wonderful to receive an email with the top 10 things that you're planning to do for the second group, and then get our feedback on whether or not we feel that would have enhanced our experience.
That's a great idea. We will do that. Oh my gosh, it's like a whole ray of hands. Yes.
Yeah, we've talked to a lot of friends about what this has been about, trying to explain it and describe it. That's why the early emails are somewhat helpful. I have a friend in Cambridge who's a peer of mine, and he says, gee, we really ought to do something like that here in Cambridge.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get from you possibly something that could be given or sent to somebody, whether it's my next door neighbor or someone somewhere else in the state, that describes the program precisely and maybe inspires them to either participate in the future or to form one in their own community.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a great idea. And one of the things that UMass is going to be working on is some type of replication guide that we can send out to communities so that they can figure out how to do it.
But I'm even looking for an elevator speech that describes what we've been doing.
So that they can encourage, yes, we can do that. We will send an elevator speech.
We'll give you 2 minutes.
All right, Carol.
I just wanted to say that going forward,
Yep.
please have Jess and Austin do the grassroots organizing.
They were so good, weren't they?
They were outstanding. They really, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion, do not lose them. Because, you know, lots of us have done lots of things over the years, but we come here and we've been refreshed. We've been, oh, right, oh yes, oh that's right, oh yeah. And it underscored so many things as everything we've been exposed to has done. But they really were hot, I thought. They were great. She was a riot, even though she was under the weather with the allergies, and he was cool.
Even her bell. Even her bell.
Her bell.
Well,
Kept us awake in the afternoon.
It did, Tom.
Yeah, we'll have to work something out with that bell.
Something that would be helpful to me is that a lot of handouts come out, and
Yes.
It would be nice if it could somehow be kind of collected into some kind of a resource book that we get at the beginning of the course. So at the end of the course, we have something that's somewhat organized that we can use as a reference later.
Oh, that's a really good
As
idea.
new stuff comes out, we can replace the old stuff because, but then it becomes really a working manual.
Yep. That's a fantastic idea. Thank you.
It would be good to have the information the week before. You know,
So you could digest it and then,
homework,
yeah.
we can be reading up.
All right, good ideas. Alice, did you have your hand up?
Well, I wanted to say that there have been some subtle conversations all along. I think the next day, the next Friday, where people said, "This is what I did," and so I think a lot of change has happened to people already in how we're approaching things. I know I'm spending more time with my legislators now than I ever have before.
That's a good thing. Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you.
That's true.
I've heard a lot of talk, and Allison's heard a lot of discussion about reunions, and we're gonna try to figure out something like that, see how we can bring folks back together. I do have one thing to ask people. Pat Baker from the Mass Law Reform Institute does a significant amount of work around food access and the SNAP program, a lot of advocacy work. She's a fantastic advocate. And she wasn't able to come today, but she sent me an email asking if any of you would like to attend a SNAP training for lay advocates combined with how to do some legislative and policy advocacy around food access. So can I just get a show of hands of folks that might be interested in something like that? So I see a bunch of hands. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and reach out to Pat and say that a lot of people would be interested in that, and then we will set up a date and reach out to folks. We'll give you some lead time, but we'll reach out to folks to see if and invite whoever is interested in that work. And Mike, do you want to take a few minutes right now to talk about the Farm Bill?
Sure.
Because that might be good timing, because I know lunch is going to be coming in. We do want to get a picture with everyone with their certificates, but there is something that needs advocacy right now. So if there's any time before lunch, you can get out your cell phones, grab an AARP phone, and make some calls.
Thank you. Pat Baker is another name to remember. Pat Baker is an extraordinary force. She heads up the SNAP Coalition, which is focused on addressing hunger issues, for all ages, but certainly a focused attention on seniors and their vulnerabilities. As it turns out, right now, today, in the United States House of Representatives, the Farm Bill is being debated. It is a very close vote. Now, I hasten to add that in our delegation in the House side, nine members of the House, they're all strongly supportive of the position that does two things that are critical. One is it makes sure that the current version of the bill that requires a stepped-up requirement of work for older people as well, over the age of 50, requiring that you work in order to get benefits. We at ARP strongly oppose that, as you might imagine, and frankly, what we're worried about is that there is a very close question as to whether or not Republicans in farm states who see the value of the food stamp program because they're getting their products out there, are also the same people who would want to be supporting this kind of a work requirement. So that's a big deal and a real problem. The second thing is that it is an underfunding of the SNAP benefit program in a huge amount. We're talking $20 billion over a 10-year period. So on behalf of Pat Baker, who, if she was standing here, would tell you, if you want to take a minute or two now, shoot an email to your congressperson thanking them for opposing the current version of the bill. That would be wonderful. And hey, you might even have relatives who happen to be in those states that you could have a question in your mind as to whether or not that congressperson's relative, the relative of the congressperson is in the same position. You may want to shoot a note to them. But this is hot off the press, and frankly, we actually could win this vote. I mean, when you think about the disparity of Republicans and Democrats in the House of Representatives right now, there's like 26 votes more on the Republican side. There are enough moderate Republicans that are seeing this as a real problem for their seniors that it might be enough to turn the tide. So that's what was suggested that we mention, and I want to thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah, and friends and family in other states.
Yeah, I mean, when in doubt, you always say. And by the way, who knows the congressperson in Massachusetts who is known in the country as the #1 advocate for the SNAP program, bar none? Anybody know? Well, his name is Jim McGovern. Joe Moakley's former chief of staff, who's been in the House of Representatives for a long time representing Worcester. You could go into Georgia right now and talk to a congressperson randomly and say, who's the one that you would go to if you had any questions about the SNAP program? And they'd say Jim McGovern. And that's true everywhere. He's really become an expert and a passionate advocate in recognizing the critical value of the SNAP program. I do want to raise one other question while I've got your attention on SNAP. Of the number of senior citizens in Massachusetts that are eligible to get benefits that give them essentially free food, and also under the Healthy and Aging Initiative in Massachusetts, you can double the amount of the benefit by going to farmers markets. What percentage of seniors in Massachusetts eligible actually are enrolled in SNAP? Anyone want to guess?
40%.
Less.
Wow.
We're talking somewhere between 30 and 35%. And as you know, in working, when you think about it, in talking to your own family members, your own neighbors, maybe even this is your own feeling. There's a lot of pride involved here. There's a lot of self-imposed unwillingness to embrace what have been benefits that legislators have enacted. And frankly, that's the same problem with the property tax benefits. In most communities, it's like 10%. Seriously, that low a percentage of seniors who are eligible for certain entitlements, whether it could be tax deferrals, tax work-offs, tax abatements, that actually take advantage of it. And the last thing I want to say on the subject is if I learned nothing more about observing what I heard in your elevator speeches, By the way, my metaphor is if you're dealing with politicians, it's more like a roller coaster, not an elevator. Or maybe a tilt-a-whirl, if you remember those. But I heard a lot of stories, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, the most powerful message to a legislator is always the personal story. And as you think about your caregiving experiences, as you think about your struggle to make ends meet when you get that quarterly tax bill, as you think about crossing Tremont Street and worrying about getting killed, all those things, it's the impact of your personal experience that really carries the day. It isn't the policy paper, as much as the wants like that. The staffs will certainly appreciate that. But for those who are elected, this is what it goes back to, is that's their job, is to appreciate their constituents are real people struggling and dealing, in many ways, not just struggling, but enjoying and flourishing. But that personal experience is really, really critical to this equation. So those are my thoughts to warm you up for lunch.
All right, so is it time for our picture, Cassie? Where do you want us? Up here? All right. Come on up, bring your certificate.